Hey, that's a good tea. That's a good tea. If you're listening on Spotify, you might be wondering what the hell is going on. But I just had a sip of some good tea, man. That was some good tea. That was some good tea. Okay. Let's actually get into this. Let me not be silly today. Okay. Um, yeah. Welcome to the bench. Welcome to the bench. Welcome to the bench. Welcome to the benching. Well, actually, no. Today we're on a bed. So welcome to the bed. That sounds wrong. Sorry. Welcome to the bench. Welcome to the bench. Welcome to the bench with your boy Franklin. It's so weird trying to introduce yourself with your own actual name. It just sounds like, how am I gonna dramatize the name Franklin? Like, Franklin isn't the most exciting name in the first place. I might actually get like, I might get one of those podcast names, or maybe an alias, something. It just sounds weird saying it's your boy Franklin. Like, do you ever do you ever listen to those rappers and it's their first song and they're like, it's your boy, and you're just kind of like, it's not your boy. Like, I don't know who you are, brother. Like, brother, I don't know. This is your first song. We need to get to know each other first before you start addressing yourself as my boy. That type of thing. But yeah, man. But yeah. Welcome to the bench. Welcome to the bench. Welcome to the bench. This tea is so good. I actually might just be jumping through random sips of tea through this whole episode. I'll title this episode Tea Time. I actually will title it Tea Time. That's such a good title. Okay. But yeah. Today we are in the U of K in the London, or in the London, doing London things. Um, I badly needed a break. Head was fried. Head was absolutely cooked. My head has been absolutely cooked for the past few weeks, so I needed a break, and this came up. It was a break I had planned for months ago, because there was a concert I wanted to come to see. But it's a break I had planned for months, so came out. Just took some time to like relax. Took some time to do some fun stuff. Took some time to enjoy. And yeah, it's been cool. It's been so fun. I like took some time to do a lot of thinking as well. So I've been doing a lot of thinking, kind of out here, just trying to like get my head back into any sort of shape, or like into any sort of game, because I noticed I'd gotten a lot slower, kind of like with, let me say, faith stuff. So with being able to step into spaces of prayer, being able to step into spaces of like reading my Bible, being able to step into even just spiritual spaces as well, in terms of like actually going to church and listening to the word. It's just felt so much more difficult in the past 2 months than it has usually. Like, usually that'd be my default, you know? And it's felt a lot harder. And it's, in a way, it's kind of felt like more of a chore, you know? And I got really confused, also a bit scared, because I'm like, wait, like, does this mean my faith isn't real? You know, like, does this mean like I'm not as fully invested? Like, does this mean I don't have skin in the game? So like, I've had to really get in touch with myself and do a lot of investigating as to like, what the heck is going on, man? Like, and like, what's the situation? So over the past 2 months, it's been a rough period, but I've just been like, I've been thinking, I've been looking, I've been trying to understand, and there's been a few things that have come out of it. There's been a few things that have come out of it. I think the biggest one was I was talking to one of my mentors during the week. He's like one of my mentors from work, so like it would be more on a corporate work basis that he mentors me. Like, he also gives amazing life advice. Hey, if you're out there and you're like, should I get a mentor? Yes. Like, it really does help. It really does help. Like, you still have to be careful in choosing a mentor, because there's genuinely insane people out there. But to have someone who's older, who's kind of like been in the game, whatever game it is you're trying to get into, who's been in that game longer than you, who's in a position where you would like to be, who's doing something that you would like to do. Like, it's having those type of connections are amazing, because like they help you contextualize both the good and the bad in every situation that you could find yourself in whatever space you find yourself in. So yeah, we were talking, and I was just sort of telling him, I was like, yo, I've been in a crazy rut for the past month. Like, I've been in such a crazy rut. Like, my work ethic just isn't as strong. My motivation just isn't as strong. My, I don't know, because I'm usually kind of a driven person ish, but like, that just ain't been there for the past month, month and a half. Been feeling very tired, been feeling very lethargic. Not really on a get up and go vibe at all. I'm just like, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. It be things, you know? But I was talking to him and I was describing it to him. And I was like, I've been in such a crazy rut. So he started probing and he started asking some questions. So he was like, oh, okay. Let's see if we can do some investigating then. He was like, how's your work at the moment? I was like, work is cool. Like, I'm still able to get my work done. I'm not feeling the best, but like, it hasn't stopped me from moving forward. And it's like, oh, how's your relationship? It's like, relationship is actually great. We're probably better than we've ever been at this point. And he was like, oh, how's your family? How's everything there? It's like, everything is cool. Like, there's no issues. He's like, how's your podcast coming along? Like, how's that going? I was like, that's actually also in a great position. Like, there's no real issues there. And then he was like, what's the problem? And I was kind of scratching my head because I was like, wait, what actually is the problem? What actually is the problem here? Like, why do I feel so bad about the fact that I'm not crazy motivated when things are still getting done? So we kind of talked a bit more. We kind of like just probed, like he prodded and probed a bit more, and he was just like, you need to understand that like your body has its own, let me say, natural reactions to situations. And it seems like right now your body's having a reaction to the amount of work that you've been doing. It sounds to me that you're not demotivated, you're just exhausted. I was like, what do you mean exhausted, man? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, he was saying, everything looks cool, everything looks okay. There are no actual issues. So what is the problem? You know? And it just got me thinking, like, on a personal level, about how much I prioritize not productivity, but how much I prioritize looking productive and feeling productive and sounding productive. You know, how much I prioritize having all these plans and these expectations that I want out of situations, like having all these, let me say, key performance indicators that show like I'm putting in work. But when you get to the base level of them, like when you dig really deep, you just realize like all this is kind of optics. All this is trying to look good. Cause like if you look like you're doing the part, then you can kind of feel like you're doing the part, as opposed to actually doing the part. It was actually it was really eye opening for me because I'm like, yo, like things are still getting done. So what is the issue? Let me grab a sip of tea. Damn, that's a good tea. But yeah, it was like things are still going fine. So what's the issue? So he recommended like getting more rest, which was actually very convenient because the day before we had that conversation, the day after I went on short holiday. So like it was really nice. And then I was actually talking to one of my boys yesterday. I was meant to get him on the podcast, but he said, I won't even say the things I have to say in my mind about him. He's just a silly boy. We were meant to get on the podcast and he was like, oh, I have some other plans this evening. Sorry, bro. I was going to kick him. But yeah, I was talking about it with my boy Fose yesterday. And we were just kind of saying like a lot of being Nigerian and like Nigerian culture is built on optics, and it's built on looking like you're doing something and sounding like you know what you're doing. Like it's a lot of sort of fake it till you make it mentality. So like on the outside, it looks like a lot is happening, but then you dive deeper and it's like, yo, what actually is being achieved here? What actually is going on? And it just sort of kind of brought me back to the way I was brought up as, you know, a Nigerian boy, where it's like you have to be doing something. You always have to be doing something. Like you can't be idle. You can't just be sitting around. There's always things to be done. There's always there's always something to clean, there's always something to tidy, there's always something to arrange, there's always a place for you to be, and always a place and always things for you to do, you know. So like I started thinking about that, and then kind of like pulled it into a faith perspective, just looking at, is there always really things to be done? Is there always really places to go? Is there, like, are we supposed to be perpetual motion beings, kind of always moving and always doing and always, like, are we always supposed to be in motion? Or is there times where we're supposed to stop and just rest and just reflect? Um, so it kind of brought me back to a place in Matthew. I can't remember exactly what the place is in Matthew, but it's somewhere in Matthew. I was reading through it at some point this year, and it's Jesus talking. And he gives this image of people as trees, and trees are planted in a root system. So in their root system, they go, like in their root system, they receive nutrients. But as they are in their root system, they're planted. So they experience the full course of the year. So the good, the bad, the ugly, the rain, the wind, the sun, blah, blah, blah. And then they will have periods of fruit bearing, but then they will have periods of barrenness. You know, they'll have periods where they don't bear any fruit. Like if you look at the seasons of the year, you have, let me not mess this up. You have winter, you have spring, you have autumn. No, you have winter, you have spring, you have summer, you have autumn. And like this year, I know that early winter or like January, I was going crazy, doing crazy work, working extra hard, extra hard. Spring kind of tailed off a bit, kind of relaxed a bit. Summer again went crazy, worked extra hard, extra hard. Autumn kind of tailed off a bit, but I know now going into winter, I feel I feel zero motivation. I feel so tired and so burnt out, and now I'm almost trying to force myself and to work. And like I was studying through the life cycle of a tree, trying to understand, because Jesus was saying we are like trees planted, receiving nutrients, but also going through all the seasons in the year. So I was trying to understand, like, what exactly are these seasons of the year, and how does the tree look as it passes through those seasons of the year? Like, I don't read, as a Christian, I've never really liked the season imagery, because I always felt like there were times it got silly. Like you'd be talking to someone and it's like, oh, are you single? Are you with someone? And they're like, oh, I'm in my season of singleness. Like, yo, can you actually shut up? Like, what are you talking? Like, what are you talking about? Are you single or are you with somebody? Like, what does season of singleness mean? It just sounds so silly. So like that type of stuff always annoyed me, and I was like, this season talk is just ridiculous. But as I was studying the life cycle of a tree, I kind of got to understand like how a tree reacts in different seasons. And like I don't know, I'm not a farmer. I'm not a farmer boy. I don't know it like off by heart, but there were just certain like points that I picked up on. And I think the biggest one I picked up on was kind of like winter, because in winter the weather is not very conducive to growth. The weather is very harsh. Tree, like, even the leaves fall off the tree. The fruit has already been picked, and the tree almost kind of goes into hibernation mode. And what sustains the tree is, first of all, the nutrients that are in the ground, and also what it has built up over the year. So like during the winter season, the reason the tree doesn't die is because it's still connected to the root, and because it's built up nutrients over the year to sustain it through that period. So like I was studying that and I was like, raw, like okay, there is going to be periods where I am unfruitful. And yeah, like there is going to be periods where I am unfruitful. And that was hard to come to terms with, because it's like, what do you mean there's going to be periods I'm unfruitful? I am out here on fire for Jesus. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's periods I'm going to be unfruitful? You're crazy. Not me, man. Not me, man. Like, I'm fruit man over here. You could even say I'm free. That was a terrible joke. Oh man, that was such a bad joke. The joke didn't even land. I tripped over my words. But this might be the first instance where I actually cut something out of an episode, man. That was horrible. But flip sake. Okay, what was I even saying? But yeah, I was like, what you mean I'm not gonna be fruitful in certain seasons? What you mean there's gonna be periods where I'm unfruitful? So like I've always had this perpetual motion mindset, and now coming into a period where I literally don't feel fruitful. Like in the space I'm in now, the weather is harsh. Everything feels so much harsher on my body and on my mind. Um I don't feel like I'm putting out nearly as much in terms of like time spent in the word or time spent in like prayer. I don't even feel like I can. I'm trying my absolute best, but it just feels like ain't nothing really coming out, you know? And then there's a level of guilt that comes with that. But I guess I've really had to come to terms and understand like there will be periods like that. Like there will be periods where it doesn't feel like faith is really popping off, you know? It doesn't feel like you don't feel like you're Jesus jumping in that moment. And also coming to terms with the fact that that is okay, the fact that that doesn't actually mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your faith specifically. And I think most importantly, it doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. I guess that last one there, it doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong, has been the hardest to come to terms with in the past 2 months, because there's a certain style of preaching and teaching that sort of says when things are going well, when you feel well connected in faith, and when you feel fruitful, that means that you're doing something good and God is happy with you. But then on the flip side, when you feel unfruitful and you feel like things aren't jumping off from a faith perspective, it means that you've done something bad and God is angry at you. And I've done my best to unlearn that. I've done my best to like take on a new way and understand like that's just not the way the stuff works. But when you enter a period where it is then genuinely hard, it's so easy to fall back into that mentality of like, yo, like I need to step up or God's gonna be angry at me. So that's been another really weird one to maneuver. Been really weird to like really, really come to grips with the fact that it's not my performance that keeps me in good standing with the creator of the universe. It's not my performance that built a relationship or built the relationship that we have. It's what Jesus did on the cross. Coming to terms that like my performance isn't what started this, so my performance is not what will keep this going. And it doesn't mean that I shouldn't spend time in word, and it doesn't mean I shouldn't pray. But what it does mean is that those are not the cornerstone of my relationship with God. The cornerstone of my relationship with God is the person of Jesus, you know? So it's been a weird period. It's been a weird period. I don't feel like there's been much growth. If anything, I actually feel like I've gone backwards in certain areas. I feel like I've regressed in certain ways. And that's also been hard to come to terms with because I'm like, yo, like, I thought is forwards ever, backwards never. Like, I thought there's never going to be a situation where you feel like you're not moving forward. I thought it's upwards always, all the time. But life has proven to me that that is just not the case. So, yeah, that's been an interesting one to walk through. That's been a very interesting one to walk through. A very, very interesting one to walk through. I think how I'm walking through it now compared to before, because at first I panicked and I sort of tried to do the whole, okay, we're gonna get back on track. So I'm gonna set aside this time for this. I'm gonna set aside this time for this, and I'm gonna really power through this and like get creative again and get productive again. And that just fell flat on its head. So the way I'm approaching it now is like, okay, God, I can see that this is not a period where I am going to be the most effective or the most understanding or the most in tune. And that's okay. So, what I will do in the meantime is I will spend as much time as I can in the word, but I won't focus on productivity and revelation. I'll focus on, let me actually just see what the word is saying today. Like I'm focusing on survival now as opposed to pouring out. Do you get me? Like I'm focusing like I'm not writing as many notes from my Bible study sessions anymore. I'm just more trying to ingest them for myself and trying to take encouragement from myself and trying to get understanding from myself to navigate the difficult situation that I find myself in. Do you know? Really trying to like for anybody who's ever played Minecraft, it feels like over the past 2 months, it feels like I've gone from creative mode to survival mode. So creative mode, you just vibing. Resources are endless. Everything is endless, and you could create the most beautiful masterpieces like possible. And then in survival mode, you have to proper dig and work and search to find resources. And then you have to be careful about how you use those resources and what you do with those resources because the resources are scarce. And you also have to fight off you also have to fight off the night creatures when they come because they will come and attack you. And that's exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. The attacks in this past 2 months have been crazy, and I'm just sort of like, okay, I guess this is fighting time. Like we're not playing, you know. So like I've had to get into a mindset of like this isn't gonna like these few months aren't gonna be a breeze, and I'm really gonna have to fight to believe what God has said about me, to believe in the space that He has put me in, to believe in myself and what He has put in me, and also to trust in the people that He's put around me, you know? So, yeah, that's kind of it on that side of things. Just learning how to maneuver difficult, difficult periods in life without feeling like, first of all, God has abandoned you, without feeling like you have abandoned God or feeling like you've done something wrong, but literally similar to the way you walked with God in the good moments, walking with God through the bad moments as well, like walking with God through every aspect of your life and trusting that He will walk with you through those moments. The same way when there was bliss and there was happiness, I was able to give thanks to God and spend time talking to Him, is the same way now that there isn't yet, now that there is sadness and there is hurt and there is confusion. I'm still spending time in that prayer space and talking to Him and like trying to hash it out in this area rather than saying, just take me back to the good times. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's been a difficult period, man. But hey, I'll be so real. We are still alive. We are still kicking. We are still cooking. I made some crazy dishes last week. One day I'm going to do a bench cooking session. Made some crazy dishes last week. So it's not all bad at all. Like, it's not like everything in the past 2 months has been just horrifying. Like, it's still been fun. It's been confusing. It's been very painful at times, but it's still been very fun. And I think that's kind of what life is about, really, like trying to find the good in whatever situation that you find yourself in. Sorry, I'm going to grab another sip of tea. This tea is too good. Okay. Yeah. But that kind of leads me to the next thing, though. The next thing is related, but kind of unrelated as well. Um, in the past few days, I've had a lot more faith conversations than I've had let me say, even in the past month. Like, I've had so many more conversations about my faith. And some, I was able to like chop it up with some people who think similarly and just like discuss some issues that we face today, especially as like young people and like navigating faith. But in other conversations, I've had to defend my faith and defend why I've chosen a life of faith and what it actually does for me. I'll focus on that part a lot more. So like yesterday I was talking to my boy. He's not a Christian. He doesn't necessarily to subscribe to the Christian faith. He grew up in a Christian home. His parents are Christian, all his siblings are Christian, but he decided, you know what, like I don't feel like this is for me. So I'm gonna respect what they do, but I'm just not gonna join in. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, he very much believes in God. He very much believes in like the spiritual, and he very much understands that there's so much more to this world, and like God has to exist because this world is so beautiful, you know? So like that's his vibe, which I respect, which I respect. You know, I respect him a lot. I respect his beliefs a lot. So we were talking yesterday, having a really long and really heavy conversation about like, why do you believe what you believe? And what does it actually do for you? I think one of the questions he asked yesterday, which really got me thinking, was sort of like he was just drawing some comparisons between a life of no faith and a life of faith, and like how he maneuvers his life while having, let me say, no faith in God, or like having no relationship with God, you know. And his question to me was, how did he even frame the question? The question was essentially like, what does a life of faith do for you? Like, what does this stuff actually do for you? Like, what does it give you? Like, what do you get that I don't have? What is available to you that I can't access? Because you are a person of faith, how does that make you different to me? You know? And it was such a heavy question. And he asked me this question over breakfast. Keep in mind, I'm munching on the craziest sandwich, the craziest breakfast sandwich with a side of pancakes, drinking a latte. And this boy is asking me the most nefarious existential questions of all time. I'm like, bro, like, to put my sandwich down, had to think for a second. I don't even know if the answer I gave was really covered exactly how I feel, but to the best of my ability, I tried to put an answer together with what I had. And the answer I gave him was, for me, on a personal level, having a relationship with God, for me, on a personal level, having a relationship with God through Jesus has given me a level of peace and a level of strength that I was never able to get from anywhere else. A level of peace and a level of strength that I was never able to get from anywhere else. Um, like, and that's not to say people failed me or people abandoned me. Like, all my life, I have had friends, I have had family, I have had community. But I always felt and knew that there was so much more. And in the midst of all those friends and in the midst of all those community, there was a part of me that still felt like I was alone. And there was a part of me that still felt like I don't feel like there's a part of my heart that doesn't feel fulfilled. Do you know what I mean? There's a part of my heart that I know is very clearly missing. Do you know what I mean? And again, everybody goes through the cycle of trying to fill it with as many things as possible and realizing the things don't work. So it's just a cycle of like try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. And I was telling them like having a relationship with Jesus, having connection to God has brought me a level of empowerment and strength like I've never had before. A level of empowerment and strength that I've never felt before, in the sense of, like I said before, I have family and friends, but to some extent, the relationship I have with my family and friends is conditional. It requires me to, let me say, behave a certain way. It requires me to not keep up appearance, but it requires me to like take care of them and support them. It requires me to give them something. It requires me to show up in a certain way. Like with my relationship with my friends, if I do something wrong, we're gonna have beef. If I like not in the sense of like, oh, they're gonna abandon me, but like we're gonna have to really sit down and address the beef and hash it out. In the same way with my girl, if I do something wrong or if I offend her, we're gonna have conflict. We're gonna really have to like sit down and resort or resolve it and hash it out. And like if I do something wrong or if I do something to hurt her, she could say, what you have done has hurt me enough or hurt me so much that I'm going to leave you. Not leave you, but like I'm going to leave this relationship. You feel me? Same way with family. Family could turn their back on you. Same way with friends. Friends could be like, "Do you know what? I don't want this friendship anymore." So like, say all that to say, all the relationships I have, and we all have, are to some extent conditional. And they are conditional to the extent that this relationship is built on both of us saying, I'm going to stay. I'm choosing to stay. So all the relationships are built on a choice. But when it comes to a relationship with God, for me, there is a level of empowerment that comes from knowing that God has chosen to stay with me no matter the situation, no matter how I am, no matter, God has chosen to stay with me no matter the situation, no matter the wrongdoing, no matter the conflict, no matter the confusion. Whether I show up or don't show up, he shows up. Whether I'm in tune or out of tune, he's still with me. Whether I'm on the right path or the wrong path, he's still guiding me. He's still protecting me. He's still covering me. He's still walking with me. Just the knowledge that the relationship that I have with Jesus isn't built on my good works, but is built on the final work that he did on the cross to absolve me of my sin and to bring me into a relationship with him. Like knowing that has brought a crazy level of empowerment. And sometimes people are like, oh yeah, you shouldn't say that. God will be with you no matter the situation. You might be telling people to sin, whatever, whatever. But it's like, bro, do you know how much that has pushed me to try my best to not sin and to try my best to walk a path of righteousness? Because it's like, yo, you love me no matter how I am. You love me no matter who I am. I'm going to try my best to be the best person that I can be. Just knowing that you love me that much, knowing that you care for me that much, knowing that you have this level of affection and this level of grace towards me, Like, there's this idea that as people, we should find power for ourselves. Like, everybody should, you should be empowered. You should be strengthened, which I believe is true. Like, absolutely. Everybody needs to have a level of power and authority within themselves so you're not pushed around in this world. But there's a level of empowerment that comes supernaturally, that comes through knowing the creator of the universe. Like, I have a relationship with the creator of the universe. What are you, man, gonna do to me? Do you know what I mean? There's a verse in the Bible and it's like, what can mere mortals do to me? And sometimes that's how I'm feeling. And I'm getting sorry, that's not all the time. Sometimes people scare me and I have to pull out stick just to defend myself. But knowing that the creator of the universe has my back, knowing that the creator of the universe loves me, knowing that the creator of the universe cares for me enough to extend his hand of friendship through the person of Jesus, that's a crazy level of peace and that's a crazy level of empowerment, because I know that I am loved. I know that I am seated in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Like, I know that I am one with God and that I can walk trusting that he is with me and he will guide me and he will protect me. And that doesn't mean that I won't face difficulty, and that doesn't mean that life is going to be easy. But it does mean that I have a friend who will never leave me, who will never forsake me, who is with me in the highs and the lows. A friend who I can experience every part of my life with, and a friend who will never, who it is literally impossible for him to leave me. Like he said he will never leave me, and he showed me that he would never leave me. So that was a very long-winded answer, but that was the answer I gave to my boy. I was like, bro, the relationship we have has some conditions to it, but the relationship I have with God is unconditional. He will never leave me or forsake me, and that has transformed me. And like I was literally telling him, I was like, bro, we met when I wasn't a Christian, and you know the person I was then. It's been 4.5 years, and you see the person I've become now. That is what has happened through a relationship with God. I have been empowered and strengthened and uplifted to a point where I look in the mirror and I don't recognize who I am. Do you know what I mean? So that was the answer I gave him. I don't know if that was a good answer or a bad answer, but like, that was the answer. I guess that was most personal to me. That was the answer that was most personal to me. Sorry, another quick sip of tea. I'm going to take like 17 tea breaks on this episode. I promise you. Hey, that's a good tea. That's a good tea. That's a good tea. But another question that was asked, actually. This was asked by his girlfriend. Another question that was asked. I was fighting for my life in those conversations, man. This was tough. But another question that was asked was well, it wasn't really a question, it was a statement. But it was like, and she wasn't saying it to like, she wasn't making it as a backhanded comment towards me. She was just sharing her opinion. But she was like, she thinks it's very pretentious and very sort of like, yeah, let me say pretentious. She said she thinks it's very pretentious for a person, a human being, to think that the creator of the universe loves them on like an individual level and wants to have a relationship with them on an individual level. She was sort of saying like, we were all created just to exist and to do our best and to go. And it's almost like God just put us here and he's like, yo, like, vibe out. But he doesn't actually want to have any sort of relationship or involvement in our life. She was saying that's what she believes. And I was like, do you know what? To some extent, I can understand that, because the creator of the universe is a crazy concept. Like the most powerful being who created the heavens and the earth with thoughts and words. Like that's crazy. Do you know what I mean? But I guess for me, I just can't relate to that, because I now understand that God extended his hand of friendship through Jesus. So like, while you could say, oh, what do you mean God wants to have a relationship with you? You're just a person and he created the universe. God instituted this relationship. He extended his hand. He came as a human being in the form of Jesus, and he walked and he talked with us and he showed himself. And he was like, I want to have a relationship with you. And that's where John 3:16 comes in. He's like, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. So it's like, God started this. He created this, like he instituted this relationship. So while you could say, what makes you think God wants to have a relationship with you? I would say back, because he started this relationship. Like, because like he built this whole system. He built this whole thing. This was his intention from the start. Do you know what I mean? So while I could understand the point, I was just like, I genuinely just can't agree, because he created this relationship himself and he sustains this relationship himself. That's how important it is to God to have a relationship with his people. He created us out of love, and what parents doesn't want to have a relationship with their children? So yeah, man, that was that was just some of the conversations that I've had to have over the past week. And that's just some of the goings and happenings and things that have been going on. Um, I think representing God in conversations about Him and like about just faith Himself, sometimes for me, I know I can get a bit like too nice and I can be like, ew, sorry, I'm hoping not being offensive, but like, this is what the Bible actually says. And I'm trying to be a bit more bold and to like really proclaim this faith because while I understand that what I say could offend you, you did ask. You know what I mean? You did ask. And if I really believe this to be true, then I should have some level of conviction while I say it to you. Like I shouldn't say it with my eyes closed and looking down. Like I should be able to look you in the eye while I tell you about the creator of the universe and what he actually wants and what his priorities are, you know? So that's something I'm working on. That's something I'm working on. But yeah, I actually think that's the end of today's episode. I'm gonna title this episode Tea Time because I took like 7 tea breaks. Tea was amazing. But yeah, shout out you for listening this far. Shout out you for visiting the bench. You're always welcome to come on the bench. The bench is a safe space for real, for real. Don't ever feel like you have to act up on the bench. Um, there was something I wanted to say. Yeah, I've got some more cool guests lined up. I took the bench as a concept into some different spaces in the last few weeks, and I was sort of like, what do you guys think of this? And would you be interested in like giving an account and an experience of your faith? And a lot of people were like, yeah, we love it. We think it's cool. So I'm going to have some cool guests on. Hope you really enjoy having them here. And yeah, guess this is me signing off. It's been your boy, Franklin. That's still a terrible outro, but I'm doing it. It's been your boy, Franklin, and I will catch you next time on the bench. But before I go, one more tea break. Hey, that's a good tea. That's a good tea. All right, peace out. Bye, 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 bye.